Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Rewatch Season 3. We are on episode 12, which means that today we will be covering Lucha Underground Season 3, episodes 23 and 24. These episodes were fun. Nothing spectacular happened on them, but we did get a lot of Cueto Cup matches and a lot of storyline progression involving Marty the Moth and his whole shtick, and Mil Muertes and everything going on around him, including Katrina and Jeremiah and all that stuff. John, how did you feel about these two episodes, my friend?
I thoroughly enjoyed them. I think you really said it best. It was a lot of Cueto Cup stuff, nothing really too much beyond that. I will say, though, in these episodes and other ones that I watched, because I told you before we went live that I've been on a real Lucha kick lately, and I was really feeling like, you know what, let me just keep watching these, let me keep the note-taking up. I learned something about myself in this rewatch, which is the best thing that can happen. I'm a Rabbit Tribe guy. I really think that they're my favorite tribe in the temple right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I adore these guys. And
I mean,
now
granted, I'll always and forever be a Reptile Tribe guy, but the Rabbit Tribe, like, on second watching, they're really entertaining.
yeah, really good. And I'm happy you said it the way that you did, because that's really what resonated with me was watching it again. I'm like, you know what? I really dig these guys. Like, I smile when they're on screen. They're genuinely good in ring, albeit in a very different way, in a way that's kind of unorthodox. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So the only reason I mention that is that they do kind of show up, I think, in both of these episodes in the Cueto Cup, but I'll be excited to talk about them both here and in the future. But yeah, good batch of episodes, and I'm excited to dive into these with you.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive right into them then. We start episode 23. We get this recap of Cueto Cup and, of course, the most recent big event that happened, Cage killing Lawrence Delgado. And then we kind of see an interesting cinematic where Phoenix pulls into the temple. I wish I knew cars so that I could tell you exactly what kind of vehicle he was driving, but it was a fancy hot rod looking thing. And he meets up with Melissa Santos, ring announcer Melissa. And she asks him, "Hey man, how you doing? How's your, you have a Cueto Cup match tonight?" And Phoenix, being the arrogant little prick that he is, says, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about winning it all." And then they just kind of flirt a little bit, and she says, "Oh well, I bet I know who I'm putting my money on." And he says, "Well, if that's the case, then I'll win for you." And then they walk off, and all this flirting's going on. And then Marty the Moth Martinez is seen behind a window staring at this scene as it's happening. And he's very angry about it, and to the point that he literally puts his head through said window and then laughs about it.
Yeah, I mean, very straightforward cinematic. We can see the budding relationship between Melissa Santos and Phoenix. Obviously, Marty doesn't like that. I mean, if you've been following Lucha Underground long enough, as I would hope all of our viewers, watching the series have, or even if you're relatively new, you pick up very quickly once Marty debuts that he definitely has something for Melissa. So yeah, definitely a tone setter for a rivalry, to come, and definitely very unnerving as Marty the Moth only can accomplish. So, anything else you want to say about this before we move on?
Let's move on. Up next, we had our first match of the night. Vinny Massaro, or I know Matt Stryker called him Vincenzo Massaro quite a few times in this match, versus Cage.
Yeah, not really a lot to say here. Mazzaro actually got a good bit of offense here, including the snoring elbow, which
I know,
for.
dude. And Cage no-sold it. And then Vinny was like, well, you know what? I know he no-sold my finisher, but let me keep going anyway. And he hit a great-looking ripcord STO.
Yeah, like, just this little flurry of offense, and I've been saying it. I haven't interacted with him on Twitter in a while, but I love Vinny, and I want to see more of him in Season 4. I would love to see him get two other Misfits and make a serious run for the Trios titles at some point. Like, I want this guy to have more to do, because you see what happens when you give guys that really don't look like much on, at first glance, something to do. Like, Famous B is my go-to story every time. And I feel like Vinny could be another case like that, because the stuff he did here looked really good. And, like, I enjoyed it. Vinny, though, realizing all of his offense wasn't going to work, he actually tries going for the gauntlet and swinging it at Cage. Cage ducks, kicks Vinny in the gut, hits the drill claw, and ultimately gets the win. And then after the match, he continues to beat on Vinny, and he bloodies him up in the face. So again, really driving home the point that the Gauntlet is unleashing something very animalistic in Cage, very violent and primal, if you will. I mean, obviously, he's not a man, he's a machine, and he's, very ruthless with that Gauntlet. So, yeah, very short match, but I think it actually told a very effective narrative as it relates to Cage's growing dependency on that Gauntlet and just the all-consuming effect it's having on him.
Yeah. I actually got a vibe in this match. I kind of feel like I never really understood what Lucha Underground was going for with Vinny, but I kind of felt like it kind of clicked for me watching this match a second time over, or I guess a third time, depending on if we, really paid a lot of attention when we watched it the same night. But I think Vinny Massaro is Lucha Underground's Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely could see why you'd get that vibe. I've got a similar vibe myself. I just hope that he could go a bit beyond the Brawler if possible, which I do think is possible given how Lucha Underground is sort of written and the universe and everything. I mean, who knows? Maybe season 4 will be Vinny's season. Only time will tell.
Yeah, man. I just think it really is fitting because like he wears these like tattered clothes, and in Brawler's case he's got a bunch of holes in his shirt. In Vinny's case they're stains. But yeah, man, like there's this definite similarity there because they're both good workers too. Like Vinny, you can definitely tell by the way he moves in the ring, the way he sells, the way he bumps, all that stuff. He's a legitimately good wrestler. There's no doubting that to me in my mind. But yeah, they're I don't know if they're ever going to book him as a serious competitor, which makes sense because he's kind of got like the schlubby look down pat. But like, man, he's talented. He's really, really good in the ring, and he made Cage look like $1 million. Not that he really needed to, because Cage just looking at him looks like $1 million. But
yeah,
he did a great job making Cage's offense look devastating. And yeah, man, props to Vinny Massaro. I never really the character never really clicked with me until I watched this over again for this rewatch. So yeah, I'm happy that we're doing this, if for no other reason, because I finally get the Vinny Massaro character.
hey man, that's what rewatch is all about. Like I said in the intro, I've become a Rabbit Tribe guy, given these
Yeah.
rewatches. So it's really cool when you can make those kinds of connections. But I think you said everything so perfectly that there's nothing I can add. So do you want to move on?
Up next, we had a great Mike Chiavello voiced video package. Of course, it starts out hyping up Rey Mysterio and then discusses Johnny Mundo. We get to see Johnny doing some training and trying to increase his pain tolerance and all that stuff. And that's about the extent of it. But yeah, it's well done.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I think, talked about these sufficiently in our first go around. I mean, Lucha Underground doing
Yeah, we
traditional pro
did
wrestling
because this
hype.
one is really similar to the last one, but the one that we get in episode 24 is exceptional, and I want to go out of my way to talk a little bit more extensively about that one. So we'll get to that when we get to it.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, let's move on. And our next Cueto Cup matchup, Marty the Moth Martinez versus Saltador. I like this because it's two very colorful characters kind of, meeting in the middle, that being the
What I
Cueto
love so
Cup.
much about this match is that Saltador found a way to creep out the moth.
I know, right? Like giving him the hammerlock and shit
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Just the mannerisms, everything was perfect. Like I said, I ended up adoring these guys. I actually ended up tweeting late last night, like, oh hey, Paul London, if you, Mala Suerte, and Salvador ever want to take me down the rabbit hole, I am more than willing because these guys are just absolutely wonderful. Ultimately, though, Marty does get the win, and I love this finisher. I don't know if they've given it a proper name, but this double arm underhook into a face breaker, what would more traditionally be known as a code breaker, the double knees to the face. I love it. I think it's brutal. I think it's devastating. In fact, because we can talk freely since you always put spoilers in the title, I think my biggest piss off moment of this season was seeing Phoenix kick out of it because Phoenix is so fucking OP. Like
Yeah.
I adore this move as Marty's finisher. It's devastating. It's actually got a real beauteous quality to it with the setup and everything. And then Phoenix has to go and be like, "Oh, I'm OP." Yeah, fuck you so hard, dude. But yeah,
Yeah,
Marty gets the
Phoenix
win.
Phoenix really came off as a dickbag in these episodes to me.
Yeah, I don't care for the character. Anybody again that's kept up with our reviews, in a long-standing sense knows that I think Phoenix is solid in ring. I'll never take away his in-ring ability, but it's just another one of those things. He honestly is like another Sami Zayn, but a lot worse because I never actively disliked Sami Zayn. I was just always kind of mad with him as a babyface. With
Yeah.
Phoenix, it's just like the white knighting and the OP-ness. It's like it's to me it's obnoxious. So yeah, just sorry for the little aside tirade, but whatever. Marty gets the win and he does advance. Not more I can say than that. So I guess we can move on. And we
All
get,
right, then. Up next,
yeah,
we get another cinematic here. This time we get Mascarita Sagrada. And of course, as anyone is always doing in the back when we get something going on in backstage area, he's doing curls. And then the Rabbit Tribe show up and they're bowing down and they're like, "Oh, listen, we lost because Saltador, he's not in the Cueto Cup anymore. You can lead the Rabbit Tribe as we ascend toward Valhalla." And then, of course, Sagrada is just like, "No, no, 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 no." And then he just kind of walks away because London's like, "We're here to serve you." And then he walks away and then he looks to Suerte and he goes, "That, my friend, is divinity personified."
God, I love this so much. I'm really excited to see, given that Masquerade said, "Oh, I know the White Rabbit. Let me take you to him." I'm so excited to see where that goes. Probably more than I
Yeah.
should be, but it's Lucha Underground. Like they have earned all of my hype on everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be great. Moving right along though, next Cueto Cup round one matchup. Pindar versus Masquerade. And I will say about this, because I know we've been going through these very briskly, because as we've already established, not much to talk about it. I personally, I don't know if you agree with me on this session. I think this is Masquerade's best match. And I know the match that he had with Famous B, where it was like anything goes, like that was really good. I enjoy this though, because I think we really get to see attitude from Masquerade, and I like that. Like we
Yeah.
really saw him use his quickness. We saw a lot of variations of like Hurricane Ranas and stuff to Pendar. But of course, what really stands out, the slap he gives Cobra Moon.
Yes. Dude, that honestly, that whole sequence was great because he does the old or no, wait a minute. You're talking about Pindar versus Mascarita, but I think you skipped over a cinematic, brother.
Wait, did I? Because Masquerade
Yeah.
versus the Rabbit Tribe was the cinematic before this. Um.
Yeah, but then we
Oh,
got in
oh,
between.
I did. Yeah, the big cinematic, one of the bigger ones of the season, and I'll give the
Yeah.
rope back to you before I take it again for this match. Marty the Moth and Mariposa. What did you think about this?
Yeah, Marty has a gigantic shrine of pictures of Melissa Santos. And not only does he have them up on his wall, but he has one in his pants too. And he pulls it out and he starts talking to it like it's actually her. And he's like, "Oh, I know why you're acting the way you are. You don't want the paparazzi to know about us." And then he gets like this music box out and there's like a mirror locket thing in it. And he pulls it out and it looks like it might have like a lock of Melissa's hair in it, if I can tell correctly. It was tough to tell because Marty's hair is long, so it might have just been his, but I think he had a lock of Melissa's hair in there and he sniffed it. And then as he's looking in the mirror, Mariposa shows up in the mirror and she's in the room and she says, "Have you forgotten what our father taught us?" And Marty comes back with, "Family first, family always first." And then Mariposa fires back with, "Your lust for her has made you weak." And then she says that once she beats Phoenix tonight, it's going to be her and Marty in the next round, and she will hurt him. And then Marty brings up their past and when they used to play together and all that stuff. And they get like really close face to face, like creepy as hell style. And like he says, "Good luck tonight." And then he does like a biting motion towards her. And then she slaps the taste out of his mouth and walks away. And when she's gone, Marty goes back to talking to his picture of Melissa like it's actually her. And he says, "Oh, I'll just have to make you family too."
God, this cinematic to me, and you know what a big Marty the Moth supporter I am, so it comes as no surprise. But cinematics like this are what put Marty the Moth so far and above characters like Nikki Cross. Because with Nikki Cross, while I will always see like caricature and overdone, does Marty have some of those elements? Sure, like even in the opening cinematic of this very episode, when he puts his head through the through the glass, right? You could just be like, "Oh man, how Looney Tunes." But then you get something like this, and it's like it's very real issues of like male entitlement and this and that. I talk about how culturally relevant Lucha Underground is with some of its characters, but it's done in like that boogeyman style, but it works so well because like he's so obsessed with Melissa and he's so it feels so entitled to her affection, and he rationalizes like why she won't just come to him, submit to the moth, if you will. And it's so creepy and so cringe inducing in the best possible way. This character is perfection to me. What a slimy villain. And then you get the whole Mariposa interaction. And given how we know the season ends, at least for Marty specifically, and how Mariposa's just like, oh, man, fuck this. And she actually has an active hand in his undoing. I actually appreciate this dialogue in a whole new light because a collision is coming between these two eventually.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be so well done. And honestly, like, I'm so excited for this because I know that there are Mariposa fans, and I know you and I are among them, that have just been dying for her to have something to do. And I think a Marty the Moth feud is perfect because I think these two are going to really do great by each other. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. This cinematic was great.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, this was great. And now that we've actually discussed this cinematic, we can get to Pindar versus Mascarita Sagrada. And what I was going to say before I realized that we skipped the Marty cinematic, I love that Cobra Moon tried to get involved in this match and Sagrada bested her in the ring and then did a Rana to Pindar on the outside. And then as he was walking around the ring to get back into it to get to the steps, Cobra Moon tried to cut him off there again, and he just slapped the shit out of her.
That's why this is gonna be my favorite match because the Famous B one is so much fun. And they do everything within the stipulation. I commend them for that because it was Believers Backlash 2, if I'm not mistaken. But this, like, it's against a more intimidating opponent because no disrespect to Famous B, but intimidating isn't a quality that comes to mind when I think of him. And like, he has to battle Cobra Moon as well. And you just see Masquerita not giving one iota of a fuck. Like, the way he slapped her really was like, bitch better have my money levels of slap. Like,
Bitch better have my money.
exactly. Like, god damn. And then to end the match, Pindar has probably one of the coolest looking power bombs I've seen in recent memory, where it's like this arm trap, but then like he releases the arms and then bam, like, plants the face on the canvas. Really freaking cool. And Pindar gets the win. Yeah, dude. Like, for me, this is going to be my favorite Masquerita match. Like, he's a great mini, moves excellently. The offense can get maybe a bit repetitive because, again, there were like a lot of variations of Hurricane Ranas in here. But you know what? I didn't even mind it much because the speed at which he was going and the energy in which they were executed, it's like you don't even really pay that much mind. And yeah, like, I just had a lot of fun with this match, dude.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a really good match. Um, man, it was. I tell you, I don't know. It's between this to me and Marty Saltador for what my favorite match of episode 23 was, but it might have come down to this. I think this might win it.
Yeah, yeah, and I could certainly understand why you would pick that. And Lord knows that this next match really didn't get that nod from me.
Yeah.
Phoenix versus Mariposa in our main event. And again, it's like me. I will readily admit that I'm biased because I'm really just not a fan of Phoenix. But again, it's like at first he's not really committed to hurting Mariposa. And then when he finally like says, you know what, screw it, it's the Cueto Cup, and she's weird, like, then it does start to get good to a degree. But I feel like Mariposa kind of fell a bit too easily in a way. Like, I was kind of disappointed how easily Phoenix is able to get off his Phoenix driver for the win.
I mean, he
And
basically treated her like she was a joke. And the thing is, when you treat someone like they're a joke who is a legitimate competitor, they should always win because they should take advantage of you underestimating them. And she wasn't even able to do that. So it makes me think that Lucha Underground doesn't even see her as a serious competitor, even though she's supposed to be a better fighter than Marty. And I'm not just saying that because I think she should be. I'm saying that because they blatantly said in their cinematic for her that the best fighter in the Moth Tribe gets the Mariposa title. So she should be the best fighter in the Moth Tribe. Marty is also in the Moth Tribe, so Mariposa should be a better fighter than him.
I'm hoping that, like, because you're right, they did say that explicitly. And then you see like the shift in her relationship with Marty, where it's like, maybe you are ready, maybe you are maturing more or less, that maybe there's a shift in that power dynamic. But like, and this is why I want to see her spotlighted more, because I want to go back to what you said at the beginning, which essentially amounts to representation. Like, if you're being represented by your opponent as like a joke and like, oh, I can overcome them easily, and then you do it, how am I supposed to perceive you, in the aftermath of that? Like, oh, I guess Phoenix was right. And, like, I don't want to think that about a talent, the quality of Mariposa, because she is insanely talented. And yeah, after the match, you have Marty the Moth try and start something, but then Phoenix dives on him. So again, Phoenix kind of being OP here. which he does get a little something later, which we'll get to in due time. But he stands tall tonight with Melissa and just his Cueto Cup victory, and it's just a shame because like I love the Moth Tribe and I want them to be more of a menacing threat than I think they have been. I'm kind of hoping with Marty getting his head shaved, like everything's been raised to ground zero. And I know there's infighting right now between him and Mariposa, but I'm hoping whatever the end result of that is, one or both of them can come out looking like the badasses we know they can be. Because yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, this whole situation is kind of interesting. I want more from Mariposa. Really, I kind of want more for the women of the temple in general, like Mariposa, Taya. Obviously, I wish Eva Lise would come back and actually be able to get in a full season without breaking her ankle or foot or leg or knee or whatever the hell injured. And I just want them to bring in more women too. Like I feel like anytime I tweet at someone or message someone asking, hey, have you checked this person out? Have you, maybe this person would fit in the temple. I feel like 80% of my personnel suggestions for Lucha Underground are women. It's Taylor Hendricks. It's your girl Priscilla Kelly. There are so many options out there. And I know that and of course I've mentioned Santana Guerra before, but she's just literally living in Florida waiting for the call from WWE, so that's not going to happen. But like, man, I'm telling you, we need more women in the temple, and they need to not be portrayed as jokes like Mariposa was in this match.
I mean, I tweeted very recently, actually, because Taylor Hendricks has like this thing going on where it's like, oh, hey, tweet at promotions you want to see me compete at with the hashtag Hail Hendricks. And the first one was, Lucha Underground, because I said, I'd love to see you, Taylor, against the likes of Cage and Pentagon Dark. I think those would be very fun matches to me. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, the biggest asset to me, and I don't mean to commit hyperbole, it's genuinely how I feel. One of the biggest assets to me that Lucha Underground has going for it that differentiates it from the other guy, whether it's New Japan or WWE, is its embracing of intergender competition.
Yeah.
And like, I want to see that become a bigger driving factor in seasons going forward. Because, I've mentioned like Taya versus Cage. It was a great match. I'd like to see a full program on that. Mil Muertes against somebody like Eva Lise. Their one match of the Lucha Underground Championship, Mil Muertes made her look like $1 million. Now, can you imagine a whole program where Eva Lise, trying to prove that she's the baddest bitch, takes out the most fearsome guy in the temple? Like, that would be insanely good. So I'm definitely with you on everything you're saying, brother. And like this, I won't necessarily call it a low point, but it was just so frustrating because it's like, it's Mariposa. She could be so much better than this. There's so much narrative potential with this character, but I feel like if it doesn't translate in ring, like it's just not going to come together. And
it's weird because it seems like they kind of chose their designated female in Sexy Star and they pushed her to the moon and kind of in general ignored all the other women in the temple.
Yeah. And now like we see how that's kind of working out because Sexy, for all intents and purposes, doesn't seem like she's going to be back for season 4. So it's going to be interesting how they respond to that. Now, I mean, this season did get the women involved in another way, like the Aztec Medallion match, Worldwide Underground, which had Taya in it against the Rabbit Tribe. Like, clearly they keep in mind this idea of intergender competition. I know later in the season, Sexy Star faces Joey Ryan in a match, right? So, like, they're keeping it in mind. I just want to see more of it and of a higher caliber. Again, I want to see Eva Lise versus Mil Muertes again. I'd love to see Taya versus Pentagon Dark. I want to see new signees like Emma and Taylor Hendricks hopefully make their way to the temple and be viable contenders, especially Emma for the Lucha Underground Championship. Like, I just think that'd be the coolest shit. So, and I know we can get there, so it's not like me being all down and abysmal. Like, I know we can get there. It's just putting the pieces together. So, with that said, do you have anything else you want to say about this main event before we transition to episode 24?
Well, you know what? Let's just transition because I feel like if I focus too much on Mariposa versus Phoenix, I'm just going to get frustrated with the way that Mariposa was done dirty in this. So let's just move on. Next, we got episode 24. We started out with a recap of Dante and Killshot and the Cueto Cup and Jeremiah Katrina and all that stuff. And the first thing that we see is Mil Muertes' mask. And the first thing that we hear is Katrina saying, "Rise, Pascual Mendoza. It is time once again for Mil Muertes to do battle. Tonight, you'll begin your journey and taking back your Lucha Underground Championship." You must let nothing stop you. Destroy them all. And then Mill comes back with, I will destroy them for you, my love. And then he strokes Katrina's face. And then she just says to him, bring me the Cueto Cup.
Yeah, and you could see that she's firing Mill up. And then when they leave, though, you see Jeremiah, and the words echo, "For you, my love," from Mill, because we know that Jeremiah is very fixated upon Katrina, even though he's dating Evilise. Uh, so yeah, that's gonna play into the show later. I really like the cinematic. I love the relationship between Mill and Katrina. Mainly its complexities. You know, that Katrina really loves Phoenix, and that, you know, Mill, like, Katrina happened upon him when he was a boy, and like all this stuff. I think it's a fascinating dynamic. And yeah, this is a great cinematic. Not much more I can say than that. Unless there's anything you want to add, I will move on to our next point here.
Yeah, I was gonna say we immediately get into Mill's match, which is against Veneno, and was just a complete squash.
Yeah, dude, your boy knows how to put down spiders better than anybody I've seen. Because Jesus Christ, I mean, no hope. The Reaper's trident virtually right out of the gate, pummels him with right hands, and then I blink, he hits the flatliner, it's over. Like, Jesus Christ, dude, Mil Muertes is unstoppable. Like, I've become convinced rewatching this season, you don't really beat Mil Muertes. You merely
Survive.
survive Mil Muertes, and then you
Yeah.
pray that you never get in the ring with him again. Which is
Yep.
why you can agree with me or disagree with me. I think King Cuerno has some of the biggest balls in the temple for wanting to do this shit again. Given how his last encounter with Mil ended, him wanting more, like, I actually perversely respect him for that. Because Jesus Christ, this dude's an animal. Yeah, Mil gets the win to the shock of, oh, let me see, no one. And we move on here in the Cueto Cup. In fact, we go right into another match. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't
we
get
actually had 3 matches right in a row to start off this episode after the Mill cinematic. So yeah, we get into Paul London versus Vibora, and this was another really entertaining match that had no right being as entertaining as it actually was.
right though, and dude, that right there, that description is precisely why I'm a Rabbit Tribe guy. Because these guys are so entertaining more than they have any right to be with the type of gimmick they have.
I love
And
too that like Paul London shows that sense of urgency right off the bat because like he knows he's against the Luchasaurus. He knows like he's not dumb. He's a loopy guy and he's kind of wacky and you know there are a lot of stuff that he does that could be considered to be you know mind tricks or whatever. But he is well aware that Vibora is his physical superior in every way imaginable, and he gets off to a head start with a drop kick on Vibora as he's trying to get into the ring because he knows Vibora steps over the top rope to get into the ring. So he drop kicks him like basically right on the hip. And like, I don't know if that would be like if it crotched Vibora on the top rope, but I know for a fact that it knocked him off the apron and on down onto the floor.
yeah, I mean, dude, that's I think what I love about this tribe is that yeah, it's out there. Yeah, it's, you know, trippy for lack of a better word, but there's like a real cerebral component to it. Like these guys just aren't, you know, dim-witted or anything like that. Like there is thought here. I believe this is the match, if I'm not mistaken, where he threatens Cobra Moon with the carrot. I'll
Yeah.
do it. I'll do it. I'll swear to God, I'll do it. Just oh my God.
He basically holds her hostage with a carrot.
I mean, dude, you don't fuck with somebody that has somebody at carrot point. You know, I've learned that quite well. So Paul London was serious. Like that's a lot of beta carotene right there. And,
Wait, did you just say beta carotene?
and he ends up shoving Cobra Moon into Vibora, who, you know, really does handle her with care because, you know, she's the queen. And, you know, they go back and forth. So it really is the, you know, the quickness, both intellectually and physically, of Paul London against just the dominance and the imposing will of Vibora. But ultimately, smarts win the day because there's one point that they do get on the outside, but the Rabbit Tribe, you know, Mala Suerte and Saltador had showed up earlier. They head under the ring. They hook Vibora by the legs, which allows Paul London to get the count out victory. And what was at the time, you know, when you and I watched on first viewing, I think the upset of the cup, though, to be fair, I think you called the shit out of this initially, but still, like, based on appearances, this was a huge upset because Drago advanced. Pindar advanced, and Vibora, the guy that you would expect to sweep the cup just by looking at him, gets
Yeah.
eliminated in the first round. Like,
And the thing is, like, the really brilliant thing about him getting eliminated in the first round isn't like, oh, they made him look like bad, like shit or whatever, because like he didn't get eliminated because the other guy was better. He got eliminated because the other guy cheated and found a way to use his, tribe to his advantage. But the beautiful thing about it is they saved Vibora versus Mil Muertes, because Paul London is in this match. Whoever won this match would go on to face Mil. And rather than getting Vibora versus Mil, we ended up with Paul London versus Mil, which, I mean, the match itself ended up being good, if I remember correctly. But Vibora versus Mil is something you want to build up to. It's not something you want to just throw out there as a random tournament match.
yeah, I completely agree, dude. That's an excellent point by you, by the way. I'm really glad you brought that up. And yeah, Paul London advances. I love too how mad Cobra Moon gets at Vibora, like post match, like I love Cobra Moon, but I'm just like, did you not see it? Did you not see that like the guy got screwed? So yeah, it's just all very interesting to me. Moving right along though, we get another round one matchup because like you said, 3 matches in a row here. Taya versus Joey Ryan. God, Joey Ryan, as Matt Stryker describes at one point, as the sexually transmitted disease of Lucha Underground. And yeah, pretty decent match between these two. Joey Ryan obviously is going to try and be a sleaze bag in the early going, offering the lollipop and whatnot, but Taya is all business. A solid match, not really too much you can say. Ultimately, though, Taya does get the win after Para Por Favor, that being the
Yes.
into the double stomp.
I was so happy that Taya won this. Taya is another example, like Mariposa, of the women that Lucha Underground really should be pushing, like, to the forefront. Not necessarily like, oh, give them the title or anything, but like, treat them as, as respectable as you did Sexy Star, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Like, dude,
and it's kind of ironic because, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, both of them have now lost to Sexy Star in big, like, no rules style matches. Because Mariposa lost to Sexy Star in No Mas, and Taya lost to Sexy Star at Ultima Lucha in their last Luchadora standing match.
Yeah. God, you know what?
Damn. They put so much into Sexy Star, and she just threw it all away.
Yeah, you know what though? I hate to be that guy, but maybe Sexy Star throwing it all away, and again, not being around for season 4 will be the best thing to happen to the women of Lucha Underground, because like maybe now they'll be like, okay, let's build multiple women, adequately, of course, but let's build multiple women at once rather than have this high concentration within one performer that may be a bust. Because really,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, Lucha Underground prides itself on giving women equal treatment to men. Like, they don't have a women's championship because they want the women vying for the men's championship, and it's not a men's championship. It's just the big, it's Lucha Underground championship. But then the problem is, only one of them actually really goes after it. And Ivelisse has had a shot before, but at the same time, even though she has had her shot, she still, it seemed relatively obvious prior to the match that she was never going to win it because it was Mil's first defense and there was the big size mismatch. And even though the match was entertaining and it did allow you to suspend your disbelief for the most part, it was still a very brief run-in with the main event scene. And that's the only run-in with the main event scene that any female other than Sexy Star has had in Lucha Underground's 3 seasons.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that that's something that changes soon. Because, I know they have a lot to give, but in the meantime, Taya gave it her all against Joey Ryan. She advances, and now we move on to finally a cinematic. So I'm going to give you the reins for this one. It's another Johnny Mundo versus Rey Mysterio hype video, but I know you even went out of your way to mention that this one was so well done that you wanted to give it a bit more attention than the other ones.
Man, you're eager to get to these, but prior to that, we had a Mill cinematic where he was in the bathroom and Jeremiah Crane showed the hell up and beat the shit out of him with a couple chairs.
Oh, yeah, and it's fun because I have all these listed. I swear to you, I paid attention. I don't know why I've been glancing over these on my list, but yeah, no, this was really well done as well. Because again, like even on rewatch, I think to myself, damn, Mill pulls off a suit excellently. Like,
yeah,
he was looking boss in that suit. God damn.
Quite
And he's
dapper.
indeed, and he's going out like,
I'm telling you, man, luchadors, wrestlers with masks wearing suits. It's just an aesthetic that looks awesome.
it does. Like, I now feel like if you're not wearing a mask with your suit, you're trash. Like, you're just third class. And because people that wear masks with their suits, I mean, that's just baller as hell. I'd say Mill with this suit, and then Naito in his suit at Wrestle Kingdom with his mask. Two of the best dressed for sure. So wherever Mill was going to, because he's like, I'm going to my party on, I'm going to the Cueto Cup. He ends up getting assaulted by Jeremiah, multiple chair shots. And then when Mill is dazed and he kind of seats a steel chair like over the throat, he screams at Mill, "She's mine." And then just it's the chair just totally knocking Mill out with a great visual effect. With like the vision kind of getting hazy and then totally blacking out. I love the camera.
Yeah, that was so good. You're so right. I didn't even have that in my notes, but you're absolutely right. That was great.
Yeah, the way that they do cinematics in terms of effects and stuff, it's the same way with the Chavo beatdown on El Dragon Azteca. When you get the perspective of Chavo just like berating El Dragon Azteca with the chair, like from his vantage point, just great camera work that I think adds a whole new dimension to these cinematics. And again, you add the effect of just the blackout, and it's just so well done. So yeah, I hate to like have easy trigger finger, but I'm glad that you always stop me to talk about these because these cinematics are gems and are worth talking about. Like this was so simple and so effective, but I think it communicated so beautifully the brutality of Jeremiah Crane, and not only that, but can I say too the vulnerability of Mil Muertes, which I think is just as important to communicate the brutality of the former Jeremiah Crane. Like if Mill kind of knows on it's just like, that would be one thing, but he got knocked the fuck out. And I really think it's important to mention that because I think it gives Jeremiah that air of credibility that he's going to need in the feud. So great stuff here.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, I guess we can move on now.
Now we can do this. I apologize. So,
the Mike Chiavello voiceover hype package for Mundo Mysterio. And yeah, man, the way that he sells this, talking about it's not just a fight, it's an epic event. And, we got these comments, and I love this is what made this so special to me. We got comments from Chavo Guerrero Jr., Cage, Puma, and Matt Striker. And now, granted, Matt Striker doesn't really say much because he, basically just says, I'm going to be a mark when this match happens and nothing else because he doesn't even pick someone to win. Chavo, Cage, and Puma all have great quotes in here. Chavo talking about Ray and the lineage, and then Mundo having the athletic advantage. Cage talking about how he's beaten Johnny, but he doesn't know what it's like to be in the ring with Ray because, and then he even talks about, like being with Ray is like a wild card because he's seen everything. He knows the counter to everything. He knows what you're going to do before you do it. And then, of course, Puma, who is the only guy out of these three that has been in the ring with both in Lucha Underground, at least. Obviously, Chavo has been in the ring with both prior to Lucha Underground, but Puma is the only one that's been in the ring with both in Lucha Underground. And I loved his quote at the very end of this because they'll talk about the match and then they get asked who they think's going to win. Chavo picks Ray, Cage picks Johnny, Striker rides the line and doesn't pick anyone, and then Puma picks Ray, and I quote, because he doesn't know how to lose.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is probably the best one that they did out of all of them. And can I say too, like, even though I loved Puma in this, I think I love Chavo the best. Because while Cage like took his little pot shots at Johnny and Puma took that little, shot at Ray at the end, like he doesn't know how to lose. Like Chavo actually gave Ray his due, and Ray was the guy that retired him from the temple. So
Yeah.
like I love that because it really did feel like Chavo speaking as Chavo and not as this villain for most of Lucha Underground's history, and I really appreciated that. I think his sincerity gave the match a certain gravity they didn't have before. And hell, even Striker, like I thought Striker had some good points there when he talks about like it being a war of attrition, it being the kick out, how much do you have to give? Normally I'm annoyed by Striker, and there were certainly episodes later where I kind of roll my eyes at his commentary, but like when he's on, and I realize, when a guy does a good job at something, you got to praise him for it. I liked how, Striker kind of framed the match. And yeah, like this is definitely something that honestly, if I would have done anything differently, I probably would have had this air before the match itself just to really drive the hype home. Because yeah, this really got me itching to see these two compete. This was so well done.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, man, this was a great cinematic, a great hype package. And it's like I said during Lucha Underground season 3 when we were watching it live, and even last week when we started seeing these, when Lucha Underground decides to do traditional wrestling, they still do it better than most wrestling companies do it.
This is proof of that, and you're absolutely right, dude. Absolutely. So, with that said, is there anything else you want to say about this?
Let's move on. Up next, match 4, Jeremiah Crane versus Killshot. Great match to me. Both guys felt like stars. I know Jeremiah Crane did kick out of the kill stomp, and then Dante Fox cost Killshot the match, but I'm sure you have more to say about it than just that.
Oh, I mean, it was a great matchup, great pacing. I mean, both these guys did, dives early on. You got Jeremiah doing his cannonball spot, into the chairs. He did a running face wash at one point, which I thought was nice. But then, I tried going for it again, and Killshot gets a rolling cutter. I mean, these guys threw everything at each other. I thought it was very entertaining. As you said, one of the high points of the match was Killshot actually hitting the Killer Instinct, and Jeremiah Crane kicks out, and then he tries going for that half and half, that driver, and Dante Fox is like, Killshot, hey, Killshot, this ain't over between us. And Killshot's face, body language.
It looked like he had
So
just seen a freaking ghost, didn't it?
Yeah, it really looked like, like a trauma had kind of overcome Killshot. Like, oh God, because Dante is representative of some of the worst moments of his life. One of the worst periods of his life being in war. And then Jeremiah capitalizes on that pump kick to the face, and then he hits the cranial contusion for the 3 count. So Crane advances, and I've gone on record as saying that this is my favorite iteration of Sami Callihan. I personally can't stand PWG Callahan, but Jeremiah Crane, I think I even had him in my fave 5 at one point. I think that was installment number 2 because I know he wasn't in the latest installment. And yeah, after that though, lights go out, come back on, and we see Katrina holding the stone up high. Her and Jeremiah kind of have a stare down, and that's pretty much all there is to that. So it's like Katrina's like, I know what you did to Mill. This isn't over. Like, you really don't know what you've signed up for. But yeah, Jeremiah advances in the Cueto Cup thanks to Dante Fox.
Absolutely. Yeah. Man, this was a really well done match. Man, I love the beginnings, and it's not even the beginning, it's just early stages of the Killshot Dante feud. Dante cost Killshot the Cueto Cup, and I love too that Killshot did not fire back. Dante made it deep, deep, deep into the Cueto Cup, and Killshot did not try to screw him over as like a petty revenge for what Dante did to him. And he just let Dante eventually lose in the Cueto Cup. Maybe he was planning like, oh, if he makes it to the finals, I'll take it from him there and really piss him off. But we never got to see that because Dante did end up losing in what I believe was the semifinals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, Dante makes it far in the cup.
Or no,
And
you know what? I think it was the quarterfinals because didn't he lose to Puma?
yeah, he did. He did lose to
So
Puma.
that would have been the quarterfinals because then the semifinals would have been Puma Phoenix, and then the finals was Puma Pentagon. So
Right. But you make a great point, and I know you made that same point in our initial viewing, but I think it's worth reiterating because it just shows like it's the simplest action, or more appropriately, inaction taken by Killshot not to interfere that clearly draws the line with him as the baby face and Dante as the heel, because Dante did something that Killshot didn't do. And that's, ruin his chances of advancing in the Cueto Cup. So I love that. I love that something just that simple is enough to let you know Killshot's the good guy here and Dante's the bad guy. Because up until that point, given the nature of the narrative, it's kind of shrouded in ambiguity a little bit. And if not ambiguity, like, you could certainly see the merits, and I think you still can, of both guys' case. But
yeah,
Dante taking that step of, now I'm going to meddle in your professional life, whereas Killshot's like, no, I'm going to let Dante's ability speak for itself, and sooner or later he's going to come up against somebody better than him. And that's exactly what happened. And then Killshot struck. But I just, there's something so brilliant about, an action so simple. And I'm glad that you reiterated that again, because, that's very important. After that, though, we get our final cinematic for this episode to round it out. Dario is loving the Cueto Cup. You see him playing with his board, assigning the matchups, and he's talking to a newcomer to the temple. So I'm going to give the reins over to you here.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know that he was a newcomer to the temple at first because it really did just look like it was Son of Havoc sitting in the chair there. But then Cueto goes, the only person I have left is Son of Havoc. And we're just like, well, yeah, that's the guy you're talking to, right? And then he says, what was your name again? And it's like, oh, shit. And he says, Madness, Son of Madness. And that is going to be Son of Havoc's first round opponent, Son of Madness, debuting in the temple. Yeah, man, this was another really well done cinematic. I love the sort of intrigue that they created by having us only see the back of Son of Madness's head and kind of creating that question, like, is that not just Son of Havoc? Like, what's going on here? Yeah, man, this was really well done.
I will say, not to jump the gun, because I know we've rounded out these episodes for today's installment of Lucha
Just jump
Rewatch.
all the guns, John. There are no guns left that we shouldn't jump.
Fair enough. This is one of the more intriguing storylines to me upon rewatching because we learned that somebody sent Son of Madness after Havoc to
Yeah.
bring him back into the club. And, because again, you've already put like, spoiler warnings and stuff like that. I just wanted to ask you very quickly, given that Son of Madness's attempt ultimately fails, because we see it culminate in a Boyle Heights biker brawl for an Aztec medallion that Son of Havoc ultimately wins. Um, do you think the story of Havoc's, past relationship with the club is kind of self-contained within season 3, or do you think we'll see that touched upon more in future seasons?
I don't know, man. I feel like there's definitely a chance that we don't really see more of it. I think it seems like their beef was relatively settled by the end of season 3, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see until May.
Yeah, see, because like when you say their beef though, and see, this is where I feeling a bit contentious that it might continue because in that same Boyle Heights biker brawl, Stryker even mentions that you've got to imagine whoever sent Son of Madness after Son of Havoc is watching this match. So it's like
Yeah,
there's a third party. Do you know what I
I
mean?
wonder if we're gonna get like a new luchador in the temple in season 4 who is like the higher up, whoever it was that hired Son of Madness in the first place. I think that would be great, actually, especially because like there are a lot of talented performers that could have taken that role.
Absolutely. And the only reason I'm really hammering this home is because I'm definitely a fan of what they did here within the season, however brief it lasted. Because, even the bar cinematic where they have a confrontation and he says, no madness, I went nomad for a reason. And I'm like, well, what was that reason? Like now I've
Yeah.
really become intrigued about this aspect of Havoc's life. Like, what was the club like? What did you guys do? I mean, again, you guys know that I am slowly working my way through Sons of Anarchy, which is why I always say, please, don't, and nobody spoil it for me. And, we know that those guys, on a microcosmic level, kind of maintain order in the town, albeit their definition of order is very different from the police's definition of order. So, like, what did Havoc's biker gang do? Did they strong arm businesses? Did they kind of maintain the quote unquote peace in a very unorthodox way? What did Son of Havoc do that he had to go nomad? Who was watching that match? Was the whole club gathered together? And did the leader say, all right, Madness failed, I guess we got to dispatch 2 or 3 more? Like, could we see an entire trio come next season for Havoc, and maybe we'd see a short-term reunion of Team Havoc to kind of keep him at
You
bay?
mean the Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know you were talking about Son of Havoc on Helico and Evilise, but I want to see Son of Havoc, Son of Madness, and someone else, maybe a literal like Son of Chaos or Son of Entropy or whatever, get together and become the team. And they wouldn't be able to actually come out and call them the Sons of Anarchy, but you and I would be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, and what you bring up a great point. What I love about this story too is again a lot like Lucha Underground's, other stories. I see so much potential in this because would Havoc find his way back to the club and start a new trio? Or again, like my idea, would the guy that was watching the Boyle Heights biker brawl where Madness failed dispatch 2 or 3 more guys, to be a trio themselves to claim Havoc to bring him back? And Havoc would have to team up with Evil Lisa on Helico to keep him at bay. Like, there's so much you could do with this. I'm really hoping that this wasn't a self-contained season 3 story. And the only thing that really did give me hope was Stryker's kind of throwaway line of, oh, well, whoever sent Madness, you have to imagine is watching. Like, I doubt that they're the type of people because, clubs take their codes and stuff very seriously. And, Havoc
Yeah.
was the group, but he left with his cut. And I've always looked at that as a big no-no because I mentioned in a prior commentary that Sons of Anarchy episode where a guy had left the club You know, I think he left on bad terms, and you have to imagine Havoc was the same way if he went Nomad for a reason. Like, some shit must have went down, but he kept his tattoo, and they end the episode by burning it off of him. Like, it's this really graphic scene. Like, you cannot have that ink if you're not a part of the Brotherhood. And I feel like Havoc shat where he ate. Not saying like I'm not on his side, but like something bad happened there. I can't imagine the leader letting it go so easily. So this is definitely a part of the Luchaverse that I want to explore more. Like, what was Havoc like in his biker days? What did he do in that club? How long has he been a nomad? You know, like really give us kind of a, a biographical kind of look into Havoc's life. I think that would be really cool. And then maybe the head honcho himself is the next person to come after Havoc. I probably put way too much thought into this, but again, I mean it as a compliment because I was just so into this storyline that, yeah, I want to see more of it.
Yeah, man, that's, you know what though? I can appreciate that. I can definitely appreciate the amount of thought that you put into it. And you're absolutely right, man. There's probably more to be said for this whole story. And I guess I was just kind of looking past the bar fight scene that I honestly kind of forgot about happened. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's definitely more to it.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, really, I would have been just like you and really just glossed over. I did the first time, but then watching the stuff that I did, like, the second time, because, you know, I've been kind of, like, breezing through these, you know, Striker's commentary line, and then that bar cinematic where Havoc just says, like, I went nomad for a reason. And of course, Madness said, well, whatever the reason, you know, you're coming back, even if it's just your head. And like, you know, that's serious. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, to bring it all full circle, this is our introduction to Son of Madness, and it was really well done. And I couldn't think of a better venue than the Cueto Cup. And like, I just remember having this smile on my face upon the first viewing where I'm like, my God, just always up in the ante. I love Lucha Underground for that. And guys, you know, on that note, that does round out episodes 23 and 24. A bit of a longer episode, given that, again, these were primarily just Cueto Cup episodes, but you can see the discussions that can be birthed from them when you've got two diehard Lucha addicts right here. So with that said, that's all for me. I hope you guys join us again for our NXT review tonight at 9.
It's going to be so good, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, we're done with the recaps of 2017. 2017 was so last year, literally. And now we're moving on to 2018 and on the road to take over Philly. Johnny Gargano, the new boy with a dream, taking on Andrade Cien Almas for the NXT Championship. The road to that takeover really begins tonight. I'll be excited to cover it with my coordinate commentary here. Speaking of, I'm going to hand the reins over to him to take us all home.
All right. Excuse me, I just about choked on my own spit there. But yeah, I guess I'll send us home then. This is a lot of fun. I enjoyed these episodes. I enjoyed talking about them. And yeah, man, we will, I guess, close things out here. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to like the video if you have not already. Leave a comment when it's fully processed. Let us know what you thought about these episodes and the season in general. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And of course, when you do, remember to click on the bell icon that pops up to get notified every time we go live or upload a video. And of course, we have all kinds of playlists down in the description. We've got playlists for seasons 1 and 2, Lucha Rewatch, and of course, the ongoing playlist that we're doing right now, Lucha Underground Rewatch Season 3. That playlist also in the description, as well as Season 3 playlists to our live reactions and our TWitWoW reviews of every episode of Lucha Underground Season 3. And of course, if you're interested in supporting us, you can do so by either buying merch on our Teespring store or donating to our Patreon. It's only $3 a month to get into the official TWitWoW patron Discord. And you can also help us continue to live react to progress. And with all of that, you also get the added ability of live reaction requests. It's good. Just man, our Patreon, we're way too goddamn generous with that. But yeah, we're continuing that deal. You can follow us both on Twitter to just kind of see what's going on. I have a big, TWitWoW schedule posted as my pinned tweet on Twitter. John has the official Q&A, ask questions here tweet pinned to his Twitter. So if you have questions you wanted to ask us for our January Q&A, go to John's Twitter, reply to his pinned tweet and ask him there. Of course, you can check out our Facebook page and our subreddit as well. And of course, remember guys, NXT tonight. And then we don't have any other commentaries the rest of this week. But then next Monday, we will be doing a live reaction and review of WrestleMania 5. And then, of course, back to the usual Tuesday progress, Wednesday Lucha Underground and NXT, all that fun stuff. But until then, remember to stay tuned.